So, here's a good question, and I hope it goes somewhere in your life. Are you stuck? Are you stuck in your life in some way? In my experience, people can be stuck in any number of ways, but generally, I would say you can be stuck emotionally, and that happens, off and on throughout our lives. Physically, injuries, illness, things like that. Mentally, sometimes we get into patterns of thinking. We have beliefs that stop us from actually seeing lots of opportunities in our lives to help us be happy, to help us be healthy. And then there's what you might call spiritual places we get stuck as well. Maybe we're stuck thinking we need to be enlightened, or we're stuck thinking that spirituality is a waste of time. Lots of ways to be stuck with these things. So what I'd like to do is share with you some perspective with respect to this from an Indigenous perspective. That's part of my background racially, culturally, and also in terms of the mentors that I go and see when I get stuck. So this is kind of what we would call framed in the medicine wheel, which is sort of a modern way of describing Indigenous spiritual paradigms and ways of thinking. So I've been practicing medicine for 20 years. All day, every day I sit in rooms with people, trying to figure out what it is about their health that's stuck, what it is about their mindset that's stuck, what it is about their emotional well-being that may be stuck. And sometimes I even get to have the odd conversation with people about where they may be stuck around their spiritual life. And it's come to my kind of realization recently that that's actually fundamentally mostly what I do. Once we have the diagnosis and the treatment strategy and we're going through the course of the treatment, if it's diet and supplements and treatments and things, that's your typical doctor-patient relationship. But it's, 3 weeks, 5 weeks, maybe a few months. Sometimes they go away, they come back, it's a couple of years. And inevitably, I end up having a conversation with people about accepting the fact that they're actually stuck. Maybe it's addiction, maybe you're stuck in a relationship you can't seem to leave, or a job you don't want to be in. And being able to accept that you're stuck is the beginning. The beginning of an investigation into what it is that may need to change, fundamentally about how you live your life as a person, that may free you up from being stuck. Now obviously, me speaking to a camera, I'm not going to be able to touch on anything personal for you, so I'm not going to go too much deeper than that, but just to ask you to ask yourself, are you stuck? And if you are you ready to accept that you're stuck? And if you are, you're going to have to change something. And I'm going to share with you kind of a little story about what that might look like. So throughout Indigenous history, we have First Nations in Canada, Native Americans in America, Indigenous people all over the world, but specifically with respect to North American Indigenous history. At a certain point, in any culture, you're going to run into resource scarcity, not enough food, and you're going to end up competing with other people for those resources. And this created a kind of honor-based system of, what I guess today you would call warfare, but it's honestly just competition for resources. And there became a society that became kind of a traditional thing. And we call them, in English, the dog strap soldiers, or dog leash soldiers. So, imagine it's a few hundred years ago and, people are living in pit houses or teepees or, other structures. And you've got to keep the dogs from eating all of the food. So you have this really long leash that you stake pounding into the ground to keep the dogs kind of over there. And, obviously that's going to happen. And let's say that there's some people, enemies competing for resources, coming towards your village, and you're a young person. What you may choose to do is become a dog-strap soldier, and or warrior, and take one of these dog leashes and tie it around your waist, and run towards the enemy, and pound the stake into the ground, and tie the leash around the stake, and again around your waist, so that no matter how scared you get, and this could be men or women, but younger people, you can't run away. And because of the kind of honor system within Indigenous peoples around competing for resources or warfare, the people that are coming to fight would always have to fight the people who stood to fight first. And this gave the people who, the younger people, or the little kids and the older people, a chance to run away and escape with whatever they could carry. And this doesn't happen very often, but it's a thing that obviously had to happen, and it's a thing that happened a lot more often since Europeans came here. And this isn't about politics or race or anything. It's really about your mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual well-being. So, that's a thing that I think is a pretty hard to forget image. Young people out there hammering, stakes into the ground, tying themselves to a leash, and then standing there and fighting to their death to give the rest of their people a chance to move on. And that's sort of a heroic thing, obviously. And, again, the imagery is what's important. So there are certain events in life that happen. I've had mine, perhaps you've had yours, that have made us respond, in a very intense way, perhaps antagonistically, perhaps righteously, in whatever way we do. And that becomes a belief. It becomes a way that we see the world. And in this sense of imagery, you've staked yourself to that experience because for whatever reason, that's where you had to defend yourself and define yourself. Now, obviously, there's a lot of trauma that can create that experience. There's a lot of accidental things. There's dysfunctional relationship patterns, all kinds of different things that make us decide that our lives, are about this. I think, there's the, more common analogy. You draw the line in the sand and that's it. You cross the line and we're going to, we're going to go throw down on this thing. It's going to get really bad. So when it comes to the experience of being stuck in your life and the opportunity to accept that you're stuck, if you can do that, the inner journey is to start asking yourself, what have I staked myself to that I believe is, worth this kind of suffering, worth this kind of lack of opportunity, worth staying in, a dysfunctional relationship, a job you hate, an addiction that's, gradually eating your life and your body and your spirit away. So that's always going to be step one, is what have I believed that keeps me, stuck to this stake in the ground on this leash that I won't let go. Now, you might have the easy answer, I'll just grab my knife and cut it and run away, or go off and do something else. And perhaps that's true, but if you spend most of your life kind of grinding against something or, dealing with trauma and, the videotapes that we have in our heads about the bad things that have happened to us and the voices that tell us to feel shame and those kind of things, cutting the leash may not be the ideal thing because you may just end up kind of going adrift and not really attending to what truly matters to you in your life. So what I would encourage you to consider, become more aware of what you're stuck to, what it is you've tied yourself to in the sense of a belief. I just went through this process a week or so ago, and I've been kind of in the world of personal cultivation for just about 36 years now. And it was a profound surprise for me in the space of a couple of days, after over 30 years of learning and working and even teaching things to people, that I still had some really, really deep limiting beliefs that I was stuck with. I mean, they were me, and I didn't even know that they were there. So my recommendation is to pull out the stake, keep it close to you, and find something towards your future, towards what matters to you, and to try and stake yourself to that opportunity, that experience. And at the same time, and this might seem a little personal and subtle, at the same time you might want to stake your way of self-reliance to the center of yourself, in the sense of being heart-centered and spiritually centered and physically centered around your well-being, because you have to stake yourself to your purpose, right? And your purpose requires a commitment and it requires some progress. But once you have a purpose, then you're going to be able to find some way to make that happen. Call that the process. Once you've got a process, you're going to make enough progress, over days, weeks, months, and hopefully years to move towards what you actually want to stake yourself to in this life. Now that could be a better relationship, a better job. For some people it's more travel, other people it's more money. Whatever it is that your true purpose is, you have to take the stake out of what you're stuck to before you can put it anywhere else. So not my typical Dr. Geek Out video, kind of wearing the Native Pride shirt today, but I just want to share something with you on that level because again, after 20 years of medical practice, almost everyone that I see besides the easy stuff, we end up having this conversation about you're stuck. And you have to accept that you're stuck before you can do anything about that. But once you accept that you're stuck and you can find a place and a process to move on, that's what's going to happen in your life. So I hope this helps you. And please like and share this, especially with anyone you know in the gentlest way possible who you feel may benefit from this, because you may have a sense that they're stuck. Please subscribe to the channel. The more people that do that, apparently the more people get to see this stuff. So just take that little click and help get this out there for people. Have any questions or comments, put them in the little comment box below. If you want to contact me for any reason, especially if you're feeling stuck, you can contact me through the website, and I'll put that on the video here. And I truly wish you well, because if almost every patient I work with is stuck, I think most of us might be a little stuck. And again, I just realized a week and a half ago, that after all these years of personal work, I was still stuck with something, and now I'm not. And it's absolutely amazing to have that experience. And maybe I will again. So, blessings, and have a great day. Thank you for watching this video.